Welcome to the flow.
Hello, my darling. Welcome to a new Zentara Flow episode. Today, we are going to be talking about the mental diet. Cha 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 cha. Now, before you get scared or bounce out of here, let me just say that this is kind of a sneaky strategy because diet is a word that has such negative connotation, I think, in most languages and in most cultures. But today I want to talk about this because basically, I think throughout history there's always been a negative narrative around many things happening in the world. But I feel like today it's a good day to talk about the importance of what we consume. And I don't mean that in a mm, like in a food and beverages type of way. I actually mean it in a quite different direction. So let me just start by explaining what I mean by mental diet. And that is that basically in previous episodes, I've talked about how basically everything is energy, including ourselves. And we're actually very good and excellent energy translators. So basically, what I mean by saying that everything is energy means that everything is vibrating at a certain frequency. And therefore, everything we eat, we listen, we hear, we do, we taste, it's nothing but vibration being translated. Even the things we see, like the colors that we see, it's just a geometrical pattern that is specific to that color, and our eyes along with our brain receives the information and translates it into what we call a color, a specific color, right? So behind me, if you're not color, I'm not sure which colors are within the color blind range, but this is blue, and the plants next to me are green, and the sofa is kind of like a red, orangey red, right? And basically, what we're doing is translating vibration all of the time. That is what makes and builds our experiences. And we ourselves are just a bunch of energy that is manifested into a body. And what happens when we consume things without taking care of our mental diet is that we are translating different types of vibration that becomes a specific emotion, and that emotion becomes kind of like the antenna that I talked about in a previous episode. And so what happens is like, let's pretend that you're a radio, right? I'm gonna like super sum it up if you didn't see that episode. So let's pretend you're a radio and that you go ahead and tune into 99.9, which is going to be like pop music, right? But then if you tune into, I don't know, 101.2, then that's going to be country music. So you cannot tune into 91.9 and expect heavy metal or country or any other type of genre that it's not the one that that station plays. And that's basically what happens with us. So we're like antennas, we're like little radios that are emitting different frequencies, and for the sake of this example, we'll say that these different frequencies are basically emotions. So just like a radio station has different channels, and each channel is attuned to a different type of music or content, in the same way our bodies is like this radio that has a range of frequencies which are called emotions instead of channels. And therefore, the emotion that you're tuned into, especially for most of your time, most of your conscious time, that's what your antenna is requesting. Because the laws of the universe state that basically you get what you give, long story short. And therefore, if you are in a state of gratitude and appreciation and happiness and joy and fulfillment, life is going to like reflect that back to you. So you're gonna find people, situations, circumstances that are basically enjoyable and that reflect that fulfillment, that joy, that peace, that happiness. And if you're in a state of constant anger or worry or frustration or depression, then life is going to reflect that back to you, and it's going to give you more reasons, people, situations, um, moments that are just going to reflect that specific emotion that you're vibrating in. And therefore, that is why it is so important to be conscious about our mental diet, because the things we consume mentally is what translates into our mind, into a feeling, into an emotion. And when we're consuming things that make us feel not great, then we're going to get emotions that don't feel great. And therefore, our antenna is going to be sending out a signal of things that do not feel great. And therefore, life will have no other choice but to reflect that not great feeling back at us, in expressed through different people, situations, uh, moments, etc. And so today I want to talk to you about what type of content that diet can translate into, so that maybe if you hadn't thought about that, maybe this can be the opportunity for you to just take a look into that and analyze it for a second to see, where you're standing in that mental diet. And especially, you can look into the content that you're seeing, but if you're not sure of how that feels, just try to learn to tune into your body, because that's such a great teacher. Unfortunately, we're taught to disconnect from our bodies from a very young age. But fortunately, as the conscious, powerful beings that we are, we also have the power to reconnect with our body and our feelings and with the messages that our body is sending us every single day, that go from I need more water, please drink some, to let's get some extra sleep tonight because you haven't slept a full night for a very long time, and that'll help me repair everything I need to repair and align. Or I am feeling quite stressed right now. Can we please remove ourselves from this situation? Or this specific talk right now is not feeling good to us. Just like pretend that you need to go somewhere else or excuse yourself. The body is talking to us every single day, every minute. And when the more we learn to listen to it, the easier our life is going to be, because basically the body is translating all of these vibrations and talking to us back from what those vibrations feel like. And so I guess a way to sum it up would be to say, if it feels good, then you're vibrating in a comfortable, good, positive range of emotions. And if it feels bad, then you're probably vibrating in a more dense, lower, heavier vibration. So that way you can kind of see where you're standing and move towards something that feels better, right? Because ultimately that is the goal. And that is not to say, sorry, goal, not gold. And that is not to say, and I don't mean by that, that it's not okay to feel sad or angry or frustrated or depressed, because all of the emotions are teachers, and they all show us something and leave something very valuable if we allow them to be and give them the space to actually be felt. The problem is when we want to just suppress them or oppress them and leave them behind, like leave them in a tiny little space in our body, just like compressed into this emotion of something that we don't want to face or feel. And that's when it'll start just screaming louder and louder as time goes by. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't be sad or angry or frustrated or depressed. Quite the opposite. If you actually tune into your body and realize that you're having a very heavy or dense or difficult or quote unquote bad emotion, because it's not that it's bad, again, it's there because it wants to tell you something, that something needs to be moved or changed or recognized or transformed or transmuted. But basically just allow yourself to feel the feeling and to let it out. Emotion is energy in motion. So when you feel that you want to cry, if you actually give it that space and hold that space to be able to cry for 3, 5, 10 minutes, then you'll notice it gone after a while. Obviously, it depends on the type of situation, right? There's some certain things that we can digest and process quicker, and some are going to take a longer time. But the longer we allow ourselves to, our body to genuinely move the feeling, move the emotion that needs to come out without falling into being addictive to that feeling, because sometimes the body learns so well to be in a special mood or in a special emotion that it just becomes addicted to it. So when you're angry and moving towards anger, it's the easier thing for you and the easier solution. Then it comes a point when the body just becomes addicted to being angry all of the time. And that's no longer a response of a very specific situation. That's just like the pilot mode. So it's good if we learn to differentiate between the two of them, and especially to give it space when we know that it's not the autopilot, but it's generally the response of a very specific situation that our body is living then and there. Then allow it to move, allow it to show and to let it out. And after a couple of minutes, most probably you're going to be able to just like turn the page and move towards something that feels a little bit better, you know. And so today I am going to talk to you about what are these things that create the mental diet. And so basically what you see. So what type of content are you seeing, are you watching? What type of movies, what type of shows, what type of programs, what type of series do you watch? Do you watch happy and comedy series? Do you watch stand-ups? Do you watch cartoons? Do you watch horror and terror movies? Are you more into like creamy sci-fi, utopian? You know, there's so many genres, and basically it's usually quite easy to understand what's going to feel good and what's going to feel bad. To me, it's very easy to say. Like nowadays, sorry, nowadays I just don't watch horror movies. I don't watch anything that has to do with crimes. I don't watch any documentaries that talk about like very dense and intense and horrible situations. Because ultimately my rule is very simple. I just don't watch or don't consume or don't talk about or don't think about in like as much as possible, um, in things that I don't want, that I wouldn't want to have in my life, that I wouldn't want to have to come or to pass in my life. So I wouldn't like to be a person that finds herself in the middle of a horror movie type of situation, or in the middle of a crime, or in the middle of any X amount of situations that I just no, I don't want to find myself in. And that's quite easy. Like it's a pretty basic rule that actually has worked very well for me. And so just stop and think for a second, what type of content are you watching and consuming? Because here's the thing, the information that we let in, whether we want it or not, whether we realize it or not, is kind of soaking in not only our conscious but also our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is kind of the pilot that has, let's say, the wheel behind our beliefs. And what we believe is what we create and is what we vibrate on. So it's basically just kind of a way of saying whatever you're letting in, you're processing, you're digesting energetically, and it's basically something that you're putting out as well. And whatever you put out comes right back in. So it's really simple if you think about it. So what are you watching? What are you listening to? What type of lyrics, if you're someone that listens to music, what type of lyrics do you listen to? When I was super depressed, I didn't realize it back at the moment, but most of the music I would hear was so freaking sad, dense, and talked about like heartbreak, how I was like, it had lyrics that mentioned literally like, I'm not enough, I'm a drunken, I'm unworthy. And like now I look back at the playlist and or like the wrap up in a very specific case for a very specific app that I use a lot. And I just like, well, no shit, Sherlock. Like, look, that was just such a big mirror of your mental state. And it might feel like a chicken or egg type of situation, and maybe it is. But at the end of the day, here I do can tell you that your mental diet is going to be the egg, or well, basically whatever you consume is going to be the beginning of whatever comes to be in your life. So what are you reading? What type of books are you reading? Do you watch news? Oh my goodness, please, if you do, I highly recommend that you stop it. I myself used to watch news for a very long time in my life, and my ego was super proud of it and kind of put itself in a pedestal because it felt like it was a way of me showing how informed and well cultured and well read I was. And from the moment that I started questioning the content that the news had, like the mainstream at least, and the vast majority of mainstream news are basically pretty shitty information that makes you feel pretty shitty. Like it's always about like terrible news and wars and crime and hate and pain and things that honestly don't feel good to me, don't feel good to my body, don't feel good to my mind, don't feel good to my energy field in any type of possible way. So I just like made a decision to stop watching them, and my ego was terrified from the fact that I was going to stop being the cultured person that would watch news. And it's been about like 10 years, and honestly my life is perfectly fine. I have not found myself in any type of situation where I was like, oh shit, I wish I should have, I could have, never should have stopped. It's actually quite the contrary. Like I feel like I live a much more calm and peaceful state of mind because I removed that source of harmful, toxic, bad feeling source of information. And actually, even like I don't know, like a week ago, something major happened in Mexico. I don't even know what it was. Um, but literally, a cousin of mine mentioned a name that was basically like the main character that was involved in this humongous piece of news that was not only in Mexico, but basically all over the world. I have also friends in different sides of the world, parts of the world, and several of them wrote back to me asking if everything was okay and if I was okay and and I kind of had no clue what they were talking about. Like I know they were talking about a specific news, but I didn't know what that news was because I've cleaned myself so much and my algorithm so far away from any type of information regarding those type of news that I literally just whoop, the whole thing just flew over my head. And so when my cousin mentioned this name that had been like 24/7 for the past 8 days in every platform, in every news, in every social media, blah, 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 I was like, who are you talking about? I actually didn't know it was a nickname, so I didn't know it was even a person. Um, and so basically, my life has pretty much been okay. Like, it has gone really well since I stopped watching news because I'm also a very empathic person, so it sucks to. I remember how powerless and frustrated I felt whenever I would watch mainstream news, and honestly, it feels great to not fall for that energy manipulation anymore. And I'm not saying that you need to stop watching news 100%. Like there are actually different platforms that share positive, interesting, enriching type of information that does not have to be like, the traumatic, intense, low vibrational type of information. So if you really want to watch or read news, by all means keep doing it. If you want to keep doing the mainstream stuff, obviously keep doing it. You do you. I'm just saying for me it has been great. It has worked great. But if it's something that you want to maybe give a try, go ahead and even maybe find some platforms that really only share good news, and that actually feels amazing because it's literally quite the opposite. You end up feeling so optimistic and positive and happy and in a very fuck yeah type of mentality, like the world is healing, we're gonna be fine, we're doing so great, let's go humanity. So I feel like if you're gonna watch news, those are definitely much better than the other ones. But besides news and what you see and what you write and what you read, what type of habits do you have, my love? Do they feel good? Do they feel bad? And you know what I mean, because I used to have um, habits that would feel good momentarily for a teeny tiny little moment, and then for the rest of the day, I would feel like crap. Like alcohol, yeah, it was great for 2, 3, 4 hours. But then for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and the more time that passes by, the longer that period of recovery goes. I think I haven't had a drink, and let alone like done any type of heavy drinking for the past maybe 5 years. So by now I wouldn't know, and I don't even want to imagine how long it would take me to recover by. But by the end of my late 20s, it would take me a good 2, 3, 4 days to recover from heavy drinking nights. So, you ultimately know what is good and what is bad for you, because ultimately your body will tell you, especially after the effect of whatever habit that you know that is not good for you stops, because the euphoria is gone and kind of the emptiness remains, right? Well, I'm speaking from a very personal space and from my personal point of view, which is obviously the only one that I can talk about and from. But I feel like, grosso modo, like in a very big way, I feel like habits, good habits and bad habits, are pretty much, a very similar baseline for most humans. So that's what I meant. And then also, what are you talking about? What are you asking for? What are you thankful for? Are you a thankful, grateful person, or are you a complainer? Are you an optimist, or are you the type of person that finds trouble or problems in any type of situation? I know some people in my life, I have some people in my life that it's honestly, it's kind of mind blowing. It feels almost like a talent, like an unrequested talent. And the funny thing is, I don't feel like they suffer it, but the people that suffer it is the people around them. Because they find a problem, and then you give them a solution, or you can give them 20 solutions, and within every single solution that you throw at them, they're going to find another freaking 20 problems with every single option that you give them. And honestly, that's kind of like a very useless talent, because if people that are in that type of situation had the capacity to turn it around and actually find like the possibilities, the good things in every type of situation, oh my God, like their lives and our lives would be so much better. Um, and then, as a personal channel, that doesn't really have to do much with the mental diet, or actually, it kind of does, because also the people that you surround yourself with is part of your mental diet. And actually, there's this very known saying that mentions how you're the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. And I truly believe that to be true. And that doesn't mean that they have to be physically within your range of day-to-day life. They can even be podcasts or movies, or again, like content. It's just content. So those people can even be like the characters of a movie or of a series or of something that is not necessarily like standing right in front of you physically right there and then. And so what I wanted to say about this type of people that have like a crazy talent to find problems where there's none, also maybe it may be worthy to analyze whether it's worthy to keep them in your life or not. Or maybe you want to keep them in your life but in smaller doses. Like it's a painful process, but it's also a loving process for yourself and the other person, but mostly for yourself. Like if you're not taking care of the quality of information and content and people that surround your life, no one is going to do it for you. And honestly, I feel like the biggest way to show appreciation for yourself is to take care of yourself in any and all possible ways. And that also means to maybe keep yourself some distance from certain people that you know that are hurting you or that are affecting you in some type of way. And obviously, there's like a wide range of situations that we can think about when I talk about people that are hurting you or kind of how can I say that? Kind of busting your mood. There's this busting your groove. I don't know how to say it, but you know what I mean. And so basically, just, you know, think about what you're consuming and what feelings and what emotions, the information, the people, the things, the thoughts, the words that you say make you feel. If you don't know how to, I invite you to learn to start understanding what your body is saying to you. Because again, that's our biggest teacher. And ultimately, that's the thing that allows us to know where our antennas at. Again, if you feel grateful and happy and joyful, the universal laws state that you get what you give. So if you're in that state, you're just going to get more people, resources, opportunities, situations, moments of gratitude and happiness and joyfulness. And the same applies to the other side of the stick. Um, so I'm going to keep it short because I also just recorded the Spanish one and I feel like it's a pretty long one. If you're trying to learn Spanish, I invite you to watch it because I also touched some areas that I didn't touch here, but I think like overall I've gotten the point through. And I guess I'm just going to add real quick another part that I did do in the Spanish episode that is talking about how your mind, there's this crazy thing that we discovered scientifically about our brain, and it's actually two things. The first one is that our brain does not cannot tell apart or cannot tell the difference between a real thing happening and something that is coming from our imagination. Like it cannot tell the difference. To the mind, is the same thing as it were happening, whether I'm living it or whether I'm imagining it. And then the second thing is that the brain also is not capable of telling when you're talking about something or someone, it doesn't know that you're not talking about yourself. So basically, the brain is always assuming that whatever you're talking about is about yourself. So when you're criticizing someone, um, or when you're judging someone and saying it out loud or even just thinking about it, but there's like so many people are so addicted and love gossiping so much. Ultimately, whenever you gossip about someone, you're kind of gossiping about yourself when you're to your brain. So you're if you're talking about someone being stupid or silly or whatever adjective you want to put there, basically your brain is interpreting it as self-talk. So also that's an invitation to maybe analyze for a second what type of diet are you consuming in that type of manner. If you gossip, would you like for your brain to think that you're all of the things that you're talking about? And last but not least, also just to share with you, since we're talking about mental diet, and part of the mental diet includes what you watch, what you read, what you see, what you think about, and what you talk about. Let me give you 5 words that are actually really good words for your mental diet and that the universe and God and energy loves because they're kind of empowering words that claim the creator, the powerful creator that you are, honeydew. So the first one is I choose, because that's basically a way of saying that you are taking charge of your free will. Second word is I deserve. Third word is I authorize, because again, that's a way of saying like it's kind of almost like you give yourself or I allow. It's kind of like you're giving permission to your quantum self, your future self, to take action towards the path that you want to live, of the situation, of the thing, of the manifestation that you want to live, right? And the last one is I receive, because it talks about, again, that creator energy that is willing to not only claim, but also receive whatever situation, resource, person, job, house, a resource they want to get. And so, actually, I'm just going to leave it at those four because I feel like in English, those are the ones that make more sense. Let me know how you feel. Let me know if you've ever thought about the fact of having and taking care of your mental diet, because at the end of the day, what you're consuming, what you're thinking about, is what you're creating. And honestly, it's it's about yourself, but it's also about every single one of us, because whatever you do individually happens to you, but it also happens in a collective level. And so whenever one or two or 10 or 15 or 8,000 or 8 million people start doing or start consuming, that's what we start creating. You create what you believe. Energy flows where attention goes, or where attention goes, energy flows. And this is why it's so important not to fall into the trap of consuming horrible, intense, low vibrational, terrifying information, because the more you allow your attention to be there, the lower your energy is going to get, the lower your vibration is going to get, the more fear you're going to let in, and the more fear you let in, the more you're going to call in for more reasons, persons, situations to keep showing you, and therefore showing the collective, when it comes to a big mass of people, to create situations that we just don't want. So basically, I invite you to, if it resonates with you, follow my rule. It's a very simple but very powerful one, and it's very short as well. If it's not something that I, or actually you can ask yourself, would I want this situation, information, person in my life? If the answer is yes, then go ahead, watch it, consume it, make it a part of your mental diet. If it's not, then don't. It's quite simple, really. And remember to ultimately listen to your body, and if it feels good, then you're on a good way and on a good path. And if it feels bad, that's your body telling you there's not that, like, you need to move from that place, situation, person, thought, experience. And again, learn to differentiate between automatic pilot, and if you're someone that's always mad, then learn to get out of that automatic pilot and reconnect with the rest of your feelings and range of emotions. But if you're someone that generally kind of navigates through happiness and joy and gratitude and different feelings, and not all positive, but like sometimes sad, sometimes happy, sometimes thankful, sometimes neutral, sometimes just content, and then sometimes you feel like this space of rage or anger, then let that anger flow, and then give it a good shake, and then get back to something that feels good again. And basically, that's it for now. Again, take whatever resonates. Please do your research on whatever you want to learn more about. And remember that I love you. And I will see you on the next episode. If you haven't, please subscribe. That's a great way for me to be able to reach more people and hopefully inspire, empower, and be a warm voice for those who are maybe feeling a bit lost, a bit sad, a bit. What's that name that I want to say? Helpless. Not to say that I'm a savior or anything like that, but basically, I'm just a person that also went through a rough patch and came to, you know, reconnect with the light on the other end of the tunnel. And I know there's many of us that have also gone through it. So, the more love we share with one another, I think better and the easier it is for all of us. So that's why I'm here. I think that's why you're here. Like, there's a reason why we found each other. So thanks for being here. I send you lots of love. Remember that you're important. Remember that I love you, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.